Good morning, everyone. My name is Greg Aranda with Graybar. I'd like to welcome everyone to Graybar's G2 Talk presentation on controlling energy spend and bottom line through technology. This talk is part of our webinar series we offer each month for our customers. I'm excited that we have a great discussion lined up for you today. But before we get started, I'd just like to cover a few housekeeping items. First of all, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a box for Q&A. Feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation. We'll address as many questions as time permits at the end. Also, our G2 talks are all archived on Graybar.com. You'll be able to view this presentation and more again and recommend it to others. Today, we're happy to team up with Leviton. As a full-service distributor and energy product specialist, Graybar works alongside Leviton to provide the latest lighting controls technology to help provide significant energy savings and ease of installation. Leviton brings innovative design and simplicity to the world of lighting control solutions, offering a complete architectural and energy management solution for any application. You can visit graybar.com to learn more. Our presenter today is David Buer, Senior Product Manager at Leviton. Dave has been with Leviton for the past 14 years, where he's worked in all aspects of product design. He's experienced in all aspects of controls development, but especially has included the merging of architectural and energy controls and theatrical product lines. Dave was previously a senior designer at PLA Designs, focusing in theater consulting, architectural controls, and lighting design for themed environments. So without further delay, take it away, Dave.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Greg, and thank you to Graybar for hosting this webinar and giving us the opportunity to present. I'm really excited about the topics that we're going to talk about today. You can certainly see the title of the presentation, Controlling Energy Spend and the Bottom Line Through Technology. And certainly thank you to the team for, like I say, taking some time out of your schedule to attend the webinar, because the stuff that we're going to talk about today is representative of changes that we're seeing throughout industries, throughout market channels, throughout sales channels, and really throughout the entire environment. It's very exciting because we're seeing a change in how buildings are controlled and how buildings run, and in some cases even run themselves. So we're going to talk about three major bullet points today. We're going to talk about really the trend towards automation and what really that means, as well as how you can benefit from it. Second, what is automated energy management in general? And then we're going to talk about one of the solutions that Leviton brings to the table called Lumina RF and how it can be used to solve some of the challenges and take advantage of some of the opportunities that we are seeing today. So one of the things that's different and has really, I don't want to say has caught us off guard, but I'll tell you the acceleration of adoption of controls, advanced controls, and automation logic into facilities has ramped up significantly over the most recent years and even months. It's very exciting because whereas a few years ago, the networking of components in a system and or the connectivity of devices was really not an everyday thing. It was kind of an exclusive thing. What we've seen is that now everything is connected. Everything is automatic. The expectation is that you can control it, it can be controlled, and it tells you what's going on. And it's a very exciting trend, and Leviton's right there to take advantage of all of these things. Some of the buzzwords that you may have seen, terms like the Internet of Things or IoT. What does that really mean? And quite simply, it means that, we can connect things together, and we can talk to them, and they can talk back to us. Of course, implementation is sometimes a challenge, and again, we want to share with you some of those solutions as to how we approach that and how we do it today. Second, advancing technologies. It used to be that just a simple sensor was all you needed, or a simple wall box sensor. It doesn't really work that way anymore. Do we have lots of sensors? Absolutely. Can you just swap out a light switch with a wall box sensor? Absolutely. Done all of the time. But our customers are demanding much higher levels of performance out of the systems than we did a few months ago. Demanding and advancing energy code requirements. You see 3 of them there on the page: ASHRAE, IECC, and Title 24. So those are the 3 energy codes that we live and deal with every day. We're very familiar with them. There's a new one that's rolling out right now, the Advanced Lighting Control Spec, which is being pushed out by the DLC, and there's a whole bunch of players in that are that are pushing that standard out. And one of the things that's exciting about the DLC spec is it talks all about networking of devices, control of devices, and controlling down to the fixture level. And what does that mean? We also now have very savvy customers. It used to be that customers weren't so excited about energy savings and energy savings controls, and we just kind of put them out there, and some people adopted them, some people didn't. However, now we're seeing customers want to be green. They are energy conscious. They want to save energy. They want the best for their facilities, their employees, and the environment. And because of that adoption, it's allowing us to push solutions out to the market that are very well suited towards every application and every user's application. It's quite exciting. So we're going to talk here for a minute about the bottom line and what the ROI is and where we can put a little bit of the spend back in our pocket. And you see this slide, and this is based off of some standard studies where we talk about several different environments. And you can see we talk about private offices, open plan offices, classrooms, conference rooms, bathrooms, corridors, and storage areas. And those are just some of the common areas that are common use case areas that you will see in buildings. And you can see the percentages there that talk about how much energy we're likely to save in each of those areas. And you can see it's a range. Now let's talk about what do we mean by that range. When we say, gee, a private office can save 13 to 15% energy. Well, why there's a range is that different office types operate under different schedules, in different environments, and different patterns. And based on when people are there and when people are not, it depends how an aux sensor is going to react within the space. For example, if you're the type of person that comes into your office, sits down at 8 a.m., works until lunch, leaves for an hour, comes back and works until 5 in your office, and that's what you do every day, you almost could schedule that. An aux sensor isn't going to give you a lot of additional savings. However, if you're someone like myself where I come in at 8 a.m., I sit down, I check my email, I'm off at meetings all day long, sometimes in my office for a couple hours, sometimes it's only 5 minutes, it just depends. In environments like that, the savings is very, very high, like into the 75, 85, 90 percentage points, because there's somebody babysitting and turning off the lights for me, and I don't even have to touch it. So that's why you see ranges in each one of these categories. You'll also note that there's different percentages for different types. Bathrooms can save 90% energy. Open plan offices on the bottom side are only at 20% energy. So different usage spaces have different usage patterns and see different types of savings by doing basic things like putting in aux sensors. Now, saving energy and putting money back in your pocket is very important. This was the Midwest Energy Efficiency Alliance study. They put together some cents or dollars savings per square foot in a facility. And what the result of their study was is they said, look, if you put in aux sensors, you're going to save about 18% of your energy or your spend on lighting, which is going to work out to about 6 cents a square foot. That's significant. The bottom one, daylight harvesting controls, you're going to save about 35% of your energy, which works out to about 13 cents per square foot. Lighting design, and this one I find fascinating. The lighting design saves about 8 cents per square foot, or about 20% of your energy. Now, what they're talking about there is they're talking about the concept and the process of designing lighting specific for the use cases or the applications or the desired task within your facility. So instead of just putting in 2x4 troughers, on an 8x12 spacing throughout the entire facility, we actually sit down, look at each room type, and design the lighting for that facility. Just that itself is going to hit 20%. And I think that's one of the ones that's kind of underappreciated sometimes, is that if we design buildings correctly from the beginning, you can actually reap more savings overall. Now, for those of us that are already in a building or already in a facility, redesign is kind of a major thing to swallow. So we talk about other energy savings measures that we can apply in a retrofit environment or with maybe things like only fixture changes. And here's another chart, and I want to walk through some of the saving strategies kind of from the right to the left, because it's really important that we understand them. Bi-level switching, okay, which is simply the concept of, instead of having a single switch in the office or a single controlled zone in an office, we have two. So one to get it up to 50%, the other to take us to 100%. Or maybe it's 33, 66, and 100. There's lots of ways to do bi-level switching. But just by doing that alone, we can save 23% of our energy. Of course, occupancy sensors, up to about 26%. Again, taking switches out and putting sensors in. Dimming daylighting hits you up to about 27% across all of the use types. And that's simply the concept of dimming daylighting or daylight harvesting, which says, look, if I have enough light coming in the windows that I can see, I can dim down the artificial lights in the ceiling so I'm not wasting the money on that energy. Of course, task tuning. Task tuning is giving the users the ability to set the lights to the level they want them at in their office. Okay? It requires some minor extra steps at time of install, but the benefits not only are up to about 23% energy savings, but you're also allowing your users to take control of their environment, which is making them happier in the end. We have some great software tools that allow them to do that. Then you jump, of course, load shedding, demand response systems, talks about the utility company, when they detect a spike in energy, instead of forcing rolling blackouts or the like, sending you signals through like an automated demand response system, and then back your lights down. So that's another strategy that's up there. Where it gets really exciting, though, is when you start combining some of these strategies into a single system, and that's where you really start to reap the rewards. For example, if we're doing occupancy plus daylighting plus task tuning, so implementing those three strategies, we're up to about an 85% savings throughout a facility. And I think that is a very exciting premise. Now, that talks about lighting control strategies. However, don't forget about HVAC strategies as well. You certainly can save money for HVAC controls, and that's where we start talking about automation not only of one part of your system, but we make the bridge into building control automation throughout the entire facility. Now, you can see on this slide here, we talk about several of the key cities throughout the country, and we talk about what the potential savings should be by percentage by controlling your HVAC systems intelligently. And you can see low numbers on this list, like, you're going to save maybe 28%, and that's probably because their energy cost is fairly low there. You'll also see high numbers on this list, though, like 64% in Los Angeles is kind of one of the ones that jumps out at me, or 67% at San Francisco. And we'll talk about this some more when we talk about one of our case studies later on in the presentation. But just the concept of making sure lights are off or making sure you're not cooling buildings when nobody is there is where we start to see a lot of savings come together. Now, we talked about lighting control. We talked about HVAC control, but combining these two things into one cohesive solution as opposed to disparate solutions really allows you to reap the majority of the rewards in your facility. And these things can certainly be done when you're designing a new facility, but more exciting, this can be done as a retrofit into an existing facility that Graybar and Leviton can bring to the table. So let's talk about the specifics here as far as what are some things that we're looking for. So first, why would a company automate their operation? First, we've well established that we can reduce energy expenses. However, the second 3 points or 3 words in that bullet point are very important, while maintaining comfort. Whether we're controlling lighting, controlling cooling, controlling heat, or controlling whatever, we do not want to make it difficult for the people that occupy the building. They are our single most valuable resource in any facility. We want them to be comfortable, and we can bring those solutions to the table. Second, ensuring that the indoor lighting, the outdoor lighting, and signage lights up when we're needed, okay, and more importantly, do not light up when they're not needed. Now, we see all of this reflected in most of our new energy codes as well, where they're leaving no stone unturned. If it uses energy, they want it to be controlled. Third, receiving alerts to ensure the property runs smoothly. When things are not doing what they're supposed to, when they're supposed to do it, the system needs to be able to tell you how to do that. And of course, HVAC control with no employee interaction, there's certainly options for that. You can have them locked, you can have them locked out, you can have them locked on, you can take different stimulus in as far as looking at what the outside temperature is, what the inside temperature is, look at humidity. There's lots of logic that we can start to build into these, but very, very simply. So it's easy to implement. So when selecting systems, certainly we would hope that it would be a Leviton solution that Graybar helps you bring to the table, but whether it's this or something else, there's some bullet points that you need to look for. First, number one, comprehensive solutions that combine different capabilities. We want to make sure that the solutions that you select are cohesive in bringing all of the systems together. Second, remote access and email text alerts. I mentioned to you a minute ago how the system needs to be able to tell you when all of a sudden your system is using too much energy or too little energy. And let me just give you one use case for a minute. When all of a sudden your cooler in a restaurant is using less energy than it's supposed to, this is something you need to know about. It's entirely possible that it's using less energy because the compressors aren't running, which means the food inside is getting warmer, and this is a problem. Or at least that's what the restaurant owners tell us. Innovative solutions, absolutely. Modular systems that can be added to at any time. Spaces don't stay the same way they are forever anymore. In fact, even office buildings, when they built up, in any growing company, they don't stay stagnant. They change all of the time. Systems that allow you to change, expand, add, remove, reconfigure is very important. We're going to be talking today about wireless solutions in our Lumina RF line. Our wireless solutions are now at the point where they're very stable. They're very easy to install. They're very easy to commission. And this makes retrofits very easy to achieve without having to pull new wire. Multi-location control, nearly an expectation of anybody anymore. And of course, energy code compliance expertise. And we have entire groups here that focus on just helping bring energy code compliant solutions to the market and doing it the best way that's going to meet the needs of our customers and be code compliant. So lots of exciting things going on. Today's lifestyle is all about simplifying everyday tasks. There's a number of points I want you to take home with you today, but certainly one near the top of the list is simplifying everyday tasks. We don't want solutions that are going to make your life more difficult. We want solutions that are going to drive something that's going to improve everybody's environment, okay? Doing it simpler, doing it better, and doing it more efficiently, all while saving energy. And that's what this concept of building automation is all about. I want to automate my building to make it intelligent, make it smart, make it work the way that I want to. So those are the solutions that, like I say, we're really talking about and bringing to the table here. So benefits, okay? 3 different groups here. So end users, what do they see? Absolutely energy savings and rebates, definite. Second, minimal impact to operations during conversion. You see that with wireless solutions. Wireless solutions are relatively minimal impact to the overall system to put in and take out, so things come together very smoothly. Scalable solutions, we talked about that. It is very common, and we see this with our tech support team all of the time, where end users just even a few months after install are calling back and saying, hey, I love this system, I love how it goes together, I've got a couple more things that I want to control. How do I do that? How do I add on to this system? Again, scalability is very important, and of course, return on investment is the bottom line. Which I think moves over to facility managers, property owners, property management companies, contractors, and the like. ROI is very important. Even above some of the other things. ROI includes things like energy savings, certainly how much am I saving, so how did I offset my spend, but things down at the bottom, maintenance free. Really important bullet point. What does maintenance of the system look like, and is that something I'm going to be able to achieve? Faster job turnaround times, reduced callbacks and maintenance. We spend a lot of time talking about that here, which is, what is the frame of mind of the contractor when they're installing these systems, and how can we make their life easier? How do we do that? By not having to go back and fix it is number one. Second, making it really easy to install. Third, fast turnaround time. Allow them to get in and get out, and certainly less cleanup is always on that list. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit about one case study here shortly. There's a number of other case studies that you can find on our website that really talk about real-world installations and what actually was achieved. So, again, we'll spend a lot of time talking about that, and we have lots of resources for you. Some of these bullet points here we've certainly already hit. The one down at the bottom, reliability, proven wireless mesh technology is one of the things I want to talk about just a minute. So the system that we're going to be talking about today has all sorts of different components that work together. It isn't just point-to-point wireless, it's actually wireless mesh. So you don't have to worry about always communicating to the hub from every device in the system. You can talk through any other device out there. It's really exciting. So here's some of the statistics that we see about payback and ROI, and this is what we've seen through some of those case studies that we've seen, where people are commonly realizing 40% energy savings after installation. 70% cost savings in retrofits. Now, why the two different numbers? 40% energy savings overall, but 70% in retrofits. Most of the retrofits that we do are spaces where they're gutting things that have been running for 20, 25, 30 years, which means in a lot of those facilities, they're still running T12 fluorescent lamps. And of course, we know T12s have been out for a few years now. So when you take and upgrade a facility from 30-year-old technology to present-day technology, the 70% number is very reasonable, if not better. I mean, shoot, even a simple transition from incandescent or T12 fluorescent to LED can save you, at least 50% before you've even started looking at controls to improve how your overall space works. Few little bullet points, just to make sure you're aware of them. There's a lot of information on the internet about this, and of course, any of the Graybar or Leviton team is happy to talk to you about them. When you install wireless sensors, you get lead points. If you are transitioning to a LEED compliant building, this is very important to you. By simply going wireless over wire, you can gain some existing points. The systems we're going to be talking about today are all wireless. Second, the annual energy savings and rebates can equal up to at least 80%. Okay? Now, rebates are very important because the rebate, or what the utility companies will pay you for upgrading your controls in your building, can be about 80% of the spend. Very important. And of course, wireless solutions are easy to install, which means you get it done quicker, and that's one of the major advantages of wireless. Now, where do we see that? Certainly, not having to pull new wire is on that list because things communicate wirelessly. Absolutely, that's on the list. But there are other things that we don't think so much about, like the concept of drywall patching. Patching drywall is a slow, laborious, expensive process. Is it complicated, and do you have to do it sometimes? Absolutely. But when you're not pulling new wire, you're not having to cut holes into walls. This is important. Repainting experience. Labor is reduced when you transition from wired to wireless systems. Your parts cost in a wireless system certainly cost you incrementally a little bit more than their wired counterparts, but overall, you see a substantial savings by moving to a wireless system, not to mention the fact that they natively tend to be more scalable because when you need to add a node, you simply add a node into the system. You don't have to figure out how to tee off of an existing line. So where does this stuff work, and what are our targets? Certainly, we've listed a lot of different types of facilities on this list that the solutions that we're going to talk about apply to. The reality is that the solutions do apply everywhere, are innately very flexible, and that allows us to custom tailor them to lots of different styles of applications. And in fact, we're going to go through about 5 different applications here of how the product rolls out, and you'll see that they all kind of build on themselves. So once we get into them, we can talk about them. We can talk about what works, what doesn't. And frankly, if the wireless solution isn't a great solution, we have lots of other solutions for you that we absolutely can deploy. I want to talk to you about one case study, though, because I think that this case study, labeled car care chain, and you can find it on our website at leviton.com/automation, this one and a bunch of others. But I think that this study encapsulates a lot of what we're talking about today in a real-world environment. Now, there were lots of different locations of this business that were addressed here. Again, it was a car care, car repair type of place, and there were some things that we noticed by doing a survey of the facilities. For example, the buildings were mismanaging temperatures, parking lot lighting, signage, and compressors. So what does that mean, mismanaging? Well, here's what that means. You don't need it to be 65 degrees inside of a building in the middle of the night controlled by the air conditioner. That is a waste of energy. There better not be anybody there at 2 o'clock in the morning. At a number of these locations, they were. Okay? Why did that happen? Well, a lot of them had scheduling thermostats, but the schedules weren't set up and operating correctly because the facility had no control over them other than at the franchise level, and at the in-store level, people weren't doing it right. Parking lot lighting on during the day. Okay, again, not controlled correctly. Compressors running 24/7 and nobody hit the off switch. Compressors running during the middle of the night, again, a waste of energies, and compressors are expensive to run. Now, they had some things they wanted to achieve, like, for example, they wanted centralized control. What does centralized control mean? Well, quite simply, that means when something's not working right and you call your tech support center, they need to be able to get into the system, diagnose it, and fix it without having to dispatch a technician to the site. So that's kind of what centralized control means in this application. Other things, of course, these were facilities that were operating already, and they didn't want to take them down for 2 weeks for a remodel. They needed to be very easy to install and install by anybody, just not super trained people. So what did we deploy to them? We deployed the Lumina RF wireless solution, exactly the system that we're going to be talking about today. Each store, okay, after install, and this was measured at these facilities, each store saw a minimum of about a 25% and as much as a 40% energy reduction over 6 months. The ROI was just under a year, okay, which is pretty phenomenal. So we were able to meet all of those challenges, resolve them, roll out a solution that, again, made the corporate office very happy and made the entire facility work a lot better. And again, it was very simple to roll out. So what was that solution? So we're really going to be talking about the Lumina RF system today and the different parts of that system, how we roll it out, and we're going to look at about 5 different applications here. So first, what are the components and what are we talking about? Lumina RF, name of the product. You see up there, true plug and play. That's a really important thing for us is because those bullet points of easy to install and easy to commission for the contractor is something that's really important. We couldn't roll out a complex system, but we needed to roll out complex concepts. So what we've done is we've made a lot of assumptions about how these facilities run, how they get used, and automated a bunch of the steps for that installer so they just kind of happen in the background. Of course, we mix that up with very easy-to-use software programs and user interfaces, which are really just kind of the icing on the cake, so to speak. So the components that you see, so there is a gateway. We call it the Lumina gateway. That's the black box there in the middle of the screen. Now, it gets connected out to the internet, and that's a necessary connection when you start talking about control from outside the facility. That connection is really important. So it's going to go through or plug into your local network, go through your standard internet router, be it wired, wireless, whatever. We can integrate with it. And that's going to talk up to the Leviton cloud system. And more on that later. We have wall switches. Now, these wall switches look like a standard wall switch. So they've got, the standard Decora opening with a paddle. You push up for on, down for off. Where it differs is that it now wirelessly communicates to and from the gateway and to and from other devices into the system. So it's also a controlled wall switch. Second, we have a 0 to 10 volt dimmer that's part of the system for controlling 0 to 10 volt dimmed loads. We have load control modules, or rather, relay controlled modules that control different load types that don't need a switch interface. Again, wirelessly communicates back to the gateway through any other device in the system. We have plug-in modules, or some would call them appliance modules, and these are things that you can add when you want to do something like, control a wall lamp in a waiting room. I can't tell you how many waiting room lamps we see on 24/7 because nobody goes and turns them off at the end of the day. By adding a wireless plug-in module to them, again, it just sits, plug it into the outlet, plug the lamp into it, now we can control it. And all of these components are about either getting stimulus in or giving us the ability to control the loads in the system. Once we can control them, then we can automate them and start doing smart things with them. Thermostat, the OmniStat thermostat, again, plugs into any HVAC system using the same wiring that's already there. So it's not new wiring, it just plugs in and again communicates back through the system. Window treatments, so for shade control and the like, we can make the shades open and close through an automated system. We also have sensors that can detect when the windows are open, when the windows are closed, when the doors are open, when the doors are closed. When the windows are open, do we really need to cool the outside with the AC? The answer is no. So we have sensors that can detect that kind of thing, and again, you can build logic in your facilities to automate those solutions. Occupancy and motion sensors for detecting people when people are in the environment and when they are not. Remote access through your telephone. In fact, this is something that I use all of the time in order to get remote access to some of my spaces. I can pull it up, I can check temperatures, I can turn lights on and off, I can see what's going on and see if the space is working right. And of course, we also have the OmniTouch 7 touchscreen, which is kind of a step-up user interface for when you want to put more controls than just the standard wall switches in the space and automate not only the system but the user experience as well, and that's of course what the touchscreen is for. So those are some of the components in the system. I haven't really covered all of them. We're also now have the Cloud 2.0 that the Lumina gateway and the phone interface with, and you can actually see some of the screenshots of the app here, and the one there on the left talks about getting into a facility, locating the facility. You can see the map view there. Our cloud system is built around multi-location facilities. So when you have more than one facility throughout an area, it gives you very easy ways to see what's going on, dive in, and start controlling it. You can see that screenshot in the middle shows us a facility that's got 6 thermostats in it. Now, most of the facilities we interact with probably wouldn't have 6 thermostats, but that's what we see there. In fact, the case study we were looking at a few minutes ago only had a couple. But multiple thermostats is no problem. Certainly you can get in and start talking about lights. You can look at door sensor. You can see that that door sensor there says that that's an occupancy sensor that's telling us that the room is empty and nobody's there. And of course, different dashboards and views and ways to see the information in that space. So that gets you all through the Cloud 2.0 system. So let's jump through some very specific application solutions and things that we've rolled out. The first one that we're going to look at is we're going to look at a couple of offices. Now, you don't have to do offices the way that we show you here. There's lots of ways to put the facilities together. Again, we just wanted to share with you some of the ways that are very common that we see. So this one has a wall switch dimmer. So we took that 0 to 10 volt dimmer controlling a 0 to 10 volt control load, replaced it over on the wall. So we now are controlling the lights in the space. We installed a sensor to determine when people are in the room and when they're not. When the office is vacant, we turn off the lights. Now, the sensor that we're showing there is a wireless sensor with a battery in it. That battery is rated for several years, so it's not, you have to replace every month thing. It'll run years on the single battery, and we do that by the sensor going to sleep when nothing's going on. It wakes up, it does some communication, and then it goes back to sleep again. So we get very long life out of those sensors. Certainly appliance load control modules, and we use those to pick up task light or desk light that's maybe there, or in some cases there's cubicle task lights that are built into the cubicles, and again, we install the module in there so we can control them, turn them off when nobody's there. You'll also notice a load control module up at the top connected to some receptacles, now giving us controlled receptacles. It's become a code requirement in many facilities to actually control the receptacles so that when nobody's in the room, the things plugged into the receptacles turn off. Now, certainly not all receptacles have to be controlled. You can leave some of them, put some of them in an uncontrolled state, but we have things that can do that, no problem. So the office on the left is one style of office. It's a complete office. We're going to see all of those energy savings numbers that we saw before, and it's a done system. Now, you see down there that Lumina gateway. It's shown in the office, but really we would have one of those per number of rooms in a facility. It wouldn't be one per office. So that should be out of the room. Now, the office on the right is an upgraded or maybe slightly larger office. You can see we've now brought in a photocell to do some daylight harvesting because we've got windows where light's coming in. We've brought in a door window sensor. How would we use that? Well, it communicates to the thermostat, and when the windows are open, we don't turn on the AC or maybe don't allow it to cool as aggressively. We've also added a touchscreen for a more advanced user interface experience to give the user more control. Again, you can see that plugged into the system there. So, second use case we're going to talk about here is a convenience store. Now, this convenience store you'll see looks a little bit different than some of the than the office diagrams we're just looking at. In fact, One of the things you'll notice is that it has a bunch more sensors in it. Now, the reason this convenience store had 3 aux sensors in it was because they have 3 different occupancy zones. So different parts of the facility can be occupied gets occupied in different patterns. And again, when it goes into an unoccupied state, the lights get set back. Now, what are they communicating to? Well, you can see some wall switch receivers for all of our zones. We've also got some sensors and switches in bathrooms, offices, storage rooms, and the like. So the same types of components that we were rolling out in the other solution, we've now rolled out into a convenience store, slightly different way, and allowing us to hit the system a little bit different. Retail stores. Now, retail stores, we control a lot of these right now. There's a lot of retrofits going on all over the country where they're taking out the fluorescents, the HIDs, the metal halides, replacing them with LEDs, as well as going through complete interior remodel. And we're having a lot of success in those environments right now. And again, same types of components. Sensors spread throughout the facility, turn the lights on and off when somebody's there or when they're not. We show sensors in these spaces because, 1, our customers are asking for them. 2, code requires them in a lot of spaces. However, you don't have to have an aux sensor in your space. In fact, in many retail environments, in the public areas of the store, we don't control them with sensors. We control them with a simple scheduler. Now, that scheduler, again, can be installed, maintained, and updated through that cloud interface that we were just showing you a few minutes ago. So you can either make those changes within the store if you have the appropriate permissions, or you can make them from the corporate office. Photo cells, daylight harvesting, again, we're seeing that roll out everywhere. In some cases, you can do single daylight zones. In some cases, you've got to do 2 and 3 daylighting zones. And again, we can do all of those solutions, no problem. Track light limiting panel, you did not see on either of the 2 diagrams. That device is designed to limit the amount of current flow that goes out to track fixtures. This is very important with retail areas because by having some current limiting devices in line with the track, not only does it reduce your energy density in the facility, but it also makes it easier to install because you don't have to account for as many devices on the track, which keeps your current consumption on the overall circuit less. What does that mean? If you can run 3 sticks of track off of a 5 amp breaker, you're better off than running those same 3 sticks of track on 3 separate 20 amp breakers as the code might require. So that's where we see a track light limiting panel coming into the system. We've added into this one, again, touchscreen for the entire store. Why? So from the back room, we can get in and control the thermostat even if the user interface is locked out. We can control the lights in the facility. We can execute macros, which set the store up for, my opening or my evening hours or however your facility wants to run. We can automate lots of different parts of that environment. Small restaurants. Again, another thing, retail stores and restaurants are just remodeling all over the place right now. And we're seeing a lot of this roll out that direction. And whether it's a small restaurant with a few components or a large restaurant with many components in there, absolutely we have solutions that we can push out for you. In fact, this restaurant, a lot of things that we see going on is the touchscreen getting pushed out into the bar area so that they can run the entire facility, maybe control VIP areas separately from the main area, but have the main areas on schedules. Again, all very easy things to push in, roll out, and deploy throughout a facility. So again, those are just 5 of the applications that I've run through. Again, they all deploy the same technology in different ways. Now, the system, how is it programmed? It's certainly not programmed the same way in every single one of those facilities. Some of them may have schedules. Some of them may not have schedules. Some of them may rely heavily on occupancy sensors. Others of them might not at all and might, just let the system run itself. All of that can be custom tailored at the facility level exactly the way that you need it to operate. So looking at our call to action, what do we want you to do? Well, upgrade your business with a Leviton automated energy management solution, and let Leviton and Graybar come together to help push a solution out to your facility that's going to help you achieve some of the payback, reduce cost of operation, and really enhance the experience of the occupants within your space. Whether they're a retail store and your public guests, or whether it's your most valuable commodity of, the people that are working for your business and sitting at desks all day long making the space work, we want to make it more comfortable for them. So again, thank you to Graybar for allowing us to host this webinar. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Greg now and move into a Q&A time.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. That was a great presentation. As Dave said, we're ready to start taking questions. So if you have a question, please click on that Q&A box at the bottom and go ahead and submit it to us. There are a few here in the queue that I'll go ahead and get started if you're ready, Dave.
Absolutely.
Yeah, does this work with LED lights?
Absolutely. In fact, it's really exciting. The adoption of LED is on a very fast curve. In fact, almost all new installs we see anymore are 100% LED. So this system is designed to work with LED fixtures, from the ground up. So we're right there.
Okay, cool. What are the limitations of the wireless technology?
So limitations of the wireless technology. One of the things I like about the Lumina RF system is that it is a mesh network, and it is a true routing, self-healing mesh. Now, what that means is it means all of the devices talk to each other and talk to the gateway. So not everything has to be or have a direct wireless communication to a hub. It only has to have communication with another wireless device. And if you can't reach the hub directly, it'll route through any of those other devices. So sometimes it takes 2 or 3 hops to get back to the gateway or to the cloud. Again, no problem. That's how the system is designed to operate. That makes for a very robust and highly reliable network.
Okay, great. What is the maximum distance between endpoints?
Another great question. If you think about the solutions that we're rolling out, because they're mesh networks, it would be very uncommon to have 2 devices that are more than 10, 15, 20, 30 feet away from each other. So that's kind of what we see commonly installed. However, the system is rated for a range up to about 75 feet between devices, of course, in an open air. Now, if you have obstructions like lead-lined concrete walls, RF doesn't go through lead very well. So certainly the environment impacts that. But, of course, every node is a repeater. Every node is part of the mesh. So it's also very easy to get through some of those things when needed.
Okay, great. I wanted to let everybody know that we have a special offer for everyone on the call today. If you are one of the first 25 people to type contact into the Q&A box to request a Graybar sales rep to contact you to learn more about controls or Leviton solutions, you're eligible to receive a free USB receptacle. And we've got a slide that's showing what that looks like. David, can you tell us a little bit about this receptacle?
Yeah, absolutely. USB receptacles, I love these devices. So basically what it does is it replaces a standard receptacle in your facility or in your home. It gives you exactly the 2 outlets that you had before, but in addition, it's got 2 USB outlets there that you can use to charge any of your smart devices. So up to about 2.1 amps on those USB devices, so you can charge even your high current devices.
Okay, cool. Yeah, those things are awesome. A couple more questions. We've got time here.
Absolutely.
How do you use the incentive of the EP Act 179D? That's a great question, and that's one I'm going to have to go do some research on and get back to you. Okay, so that's great. Yeah, we can referencing right off the top of the head. Sure. Yeah, we will follow up with that question via email. Okay. Do all of these devices use batteries, and how long do they last in heavy use environments?
So the batteries operate for years, and that's really a two-part question. So they will operate for several years. I believe our spec is 5 years on the battery life. The more important question, though, is the one that comes before that, which is, do all of the devices use batteries? The answer to that question is no. The only devices that use batteries are the sensors and remote devices that aren't hardwired all of the time. So things like the wall switches, the power control modules, and those devices, they're already connected to line voltage power, so they just get their power from that system. Things like window sensors, aux sensors, photocells, those devices do use batteries, so you can install them anywhere and not have to wire them to anything. In fact, many of them support surface mount as well. So again, those batteries are on the year's schedule, not the month schedule.
Okay. Does this solution have energy metering capabilities?
So not in the Lumina RF system today, but Leviton does have a full suite of sub-metering, monitoring, measurement, and verification services that we can integrate with this system very well.
Okay. Can Leviton controls interface with security and fire alarm systems to communicate activity, adjust schedules, make notifications?
Yes, absolutely. Most of those interfaces happen through a digital network or a contact closure. Things like security and fire alarm systems, the number one interface type is contact closure. So we have lots of easy ways to do that. We also have other ways to interact with or interface with other building management and automation systems as well. Again, those are things we just need to engage on, look at the application, and then design the correct solution for you.
Another question on the batteries. What kind of batteries do they use?
A couple of different batteries based on the type of devices, and I don't remember the number off the top of my head. But again, we'll take a look at that one and let me push out some very concrete information to you in email responses.
Great.
It is on our data sheet. Again, I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Sure. Do you have any devices that are rated to survive in a very wet/humid environment? They're a vehicle washing facility.
Yeah, we do. We have devices that are designed to be installed into, vehicle washing facilities. Absolutely. We have outdoor rated devices. We also have devices that are designed to be installed into wash down facilities like food prep areas where, every day you go through with a pressure washer. So absolutely we have solutions for that.
Okay. Is this a product that would integrate with existing building automation systems?
Yeah, that one kind of ties into one of the earlier questions. And we have lots of solutions that interact with building management and automation solutions. Whether the Lumina RF solution is the right one for that or whether another product is something we'd have to look at based on how you want it to operate and what type of integration you want. But things like BACnet, Modbus, LawnWorks and the like, again, all systems that we interface with on a daily basis.
Okay, great. I think I got all the questions. Dave, we really appreciate you taking the time. Go ahead and if you guys still have questions out there, keep filling them in, and we will reach out via email if we didn't get to them. As a reminder, this presentation will be archived on graybar.com. And again, thank you for your time today, and we hope that you'll join us for our next G2 talk. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.